At the helm of marketing and communications for Mastercard across South Asia, Lavani Agarwal leads brand building for one of the world's most diverse payments markets. In this conversation, we will understand from her how she really balances the global consistencies with the local relevance at the company while keeping trust, purpose, and everyday adoption at the very heart of it. On that note, a very warm welcome, Lavani.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to have you.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be in conversation with you.
Wonderful. So, jumping into the conversation, how do you walk the tightrope of balancing the global consistency with the local relevance while keeping in mind the cultural, behavioral, and economic nuances across the markets?
You know, the goal is always to make sure Mastercard feels familiar to everyone around the world, but also locally very, very relevant. And that is the rope we have to walk. So, you know, globally, we're a trusted brand over decades. And so there are some brand pillars that act as foundations for us. You know, whether it's safety, security, trust, innovation, and even priceless, which has very much been the ethos and the very foundation of our brand. Every time we operationalize anything in market, it is important that we stay true to our global brand pillars, but we find local nuances and relevance, which is important from the point of view of local businesses and users. We do a lot of insighting to make sure that we understand the deep-rooted, sometimes vulnerabilities of users, and make sure that to the most vulnerable user also, payments can feel trustworthy, secure, and seamless.
Sure.
That is the work that we need to do, but of course we try and hold true to our pillars to ensure the brand ethos is carried out really well. So as an example, very recently we launched a campaign called Tap and Style, which is our way to communicate the new mobile tap and go product solution for users. We are staying true to our global mandates in the sense that how the brand shows up and what is the, you know, how we communicate our principles of security and seamlessness, how we bring forward our innovation. Those are true to the brand, global brand pillars. But locally, the leap we took was actually trying to understand how Gen Zs and early millennials are actually using payments. What is their expectation of payments in their day-to-day lives? In uncovering those insights, we realized that what they actually want is to be seen as ahead of the curve, not wasting any time in a daily transaction, whether you're grabbing a coffee or a popcorn at a movie theater. You want things to be fast and
yet convenient.
And very convenient. And as a result of that, what we did was we took our global playbook of how we operationalize and showcase our innovation, but we made it really insightful for the Indian user. And from there came Pay in Style, Mastercard on your mobile. And that's the campaign we're doing with two really good stars, Ishan Khattar and Kriti Shetty.
Wonderful. I'd like you to zoom into the insights that you're talking about. What have you gathered about the India market? What are some of the unique traits or characteristics that you've gathered about the Indian user, so to say?
Oh, wow. The Indian user, I mean, you know, we're talking about this varied mix of users across socioeconomic strata, different parts of the country, different languages, different preferences, different generations. We are at a time today where, you know, we have across 4 to 5 different generations, people are using payments in for different needs in the day. So I think you know, at the end of the day, we will have, as we try to understand this complex market, and this is only India, right? Actually, in South Asia, we also look at Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, etc. So, zooming into India for a minute, as we think about this market with its complexities and different users, what we try to zero in on is what is the fundamental human truth that we want to address. At the end of the day, the users expect payments, for example, to be trustworthy, and trust therefore becomes paramount. You know, it is at the end of the day their money, and some of us in the fintech ecosystem, we have this great privilege of actually making that easier and simpler and more convenient for them. So, we're seeing with every generation that's coming in, the form factor is changing. Some prefer to use the card, whereas a lot of the world is now moved towards mobile.
Right.
What you expect from your payment provider. There could be various insights, but I think what I would say is a zero in human truth is definitely what the paramount, trust is paramount. It is what at the end of the day every user wants. And then we're starting to now uncover what are there for the drivers of trust.
All
You
right.
want things to feel familiar, like I said, but also secure, very safe, a little bit ahead of the curve. And so
Right.
it needs to also feel the latest, the most innovative. We are in a world where everyone is using various forms of technology, including AI, to do different things. And this is now increasingly important for us as marketers to then distill that
Right.
into what it means for the user. So I couldn't give you a one-line answer on
That's
what
okay.
the
Works
Indian
for
user
me.
is like, but I would say that that there is always one universal human truth that we would work on as marketers.
Wonderful. This brings me to another pivotal question. So you joined the brand last year.
Yeah.
What were some of the immediate priorities on the table for you? And if you could help me with one or two challenges that you really wanted to work upon.
Coming into Mastercard, it was my first time in the payments industry.
Right.
And I think from there, literally my number one objective was to understand how the industry operates, what is the business model, how we are structured. We are a complex organization, with global, regional, local teams, and it's a matrixed organization. So I think for me, it was really getting to understand the business, how money moves. At the end of the day, we're a network, and that for me was really important. The second one was understanding the people. We have a wonderful culture internally, and we're known as one of the greatest places to work at.
Right.
So it was really important for me to just understand the people, get to meet all of the leaders, my own team. I spent a lot of time in doing that. And then I'm a brand fanatic, and so I quickly jumped into what our brand is like. The best way the part of it is to look at brand scores and reports and just look at all of our review documents. But my most precious learnings came from meeting our ecosystem partners. So as I met more and more banking partners, and I met more consumers, and I spoke to brand evangelists and creators, and I got to understand what they actually think about Mastercard, either as a user or as a business. That is what actually sharpened my understanding. So I did a lot of investigation in my first few months, and then I had to dig right in. I was getting impatient, so I came in at a time when we had just signed a really wonderful partnership with Eva Live that would bring in lots of concerts into India and really open access to the concert economy. And we started with that. There were lots of concerts. We got a few campaigns out of the door. We're doing some joint value creation with some of our issuing partners. We're launching mobile contactless. So it's really, I've come in and it's been a great run. The challenges, I would say, it is, I think the complexity and the sophistication of this ecosystem is something that one needs to just build a very deep appreciation for. And it's not so much of a challenge, but I think for me, it's building a robust understanding of, like I said, how money actually moves. And it is really, really important to understand that and the nuances in working with several ecosystem partners. Other than that, I think from if I come back to marketing, it is also a little bit around how we then maintain our reputation across various stakeholders. I also look at communications and in defining our stakeholders, of course, there's a user and our customers in banks and wallet partners, but we also need to toe the line and make sure that we're seen as a trusted partner for India's digital revolution by the media and by the government and by the ecosystem at large. And I think that in itself is I would say, a little bit of a tall ask, and I'm less than 7 months in. But yeah, that's the one area where I'm trying to invest quite a lot of my time to build a more rounded comprehension of, where we stand and where do we need to be.
All right. On that note, as you mentioned, you've been very extensively partnering with banks, fintechs, and governments. When we talk from a marketing lens, how are these partnerships really strengthening the storytelling for you and also accelerating trust at the same time?
Payments intrinsically, this industry intrinsically is ecosystem oriented. No one can do anything on their own. We work like a well-oiled machine, and it's this, I would say, it's this network and this joint relationships that actually enables us to do wonderful things.
Right.
So we partner with banks, with wallet providers, with technology organizations. We have some upstream partnerships as well. Any proposition that we want to communicate, in my opinion, I think it is much further strengthened when we come in with a joint voice.
Correct.
So speaking of the latest campaign that we have, the Pay in Style mobile contactless one, the entire proposition is a lot more powerful when it is said in unison with our wallet partners, Google
Correct.
Pay, Phone Pay, Cred.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, that is what the user's journey is. User doesn't see Mastercard in isolation from the bank that is giving them the
Correct.
card, or the wallet where they're going to actually use, the UI that they're actually going to add their card onto. They need to see this as a seamless experience. And it's really important that we then channel the user insight in how we show up. By simply talking about my own brand, I'm actually not solving the user's problem, right? It is important for me to then explain to them that here's your card, here's what you do, add your card to your wallet, then start making the payments, and then showcasing the merchants as well.
Correct.
This coffee shop or this cinema hall, this is where you can actually use it. That entire ecosystem gets activated. The story is a lot more strengthened when said in unison with the ecosystem. And honestly, at the end of it, the user benefits. And when that happens, the entire industry is actually benefiting. So I'm a big proponent of joint marketing campaigns, whether it is how we activate our experiences like the concerts I spoke about, or the campaigns that we do. Or even, sometimes we just get into deep problem-solving modes with our issuer partners, which are the banks. I could work with Bank A in understanding what is the core user problem they're trying to solve, and we come up with a host of services and solutions that would then tackle that problem for their cardholders.
Right.
And that is what I like to call joint value creation. I think we need to know that users don't see us in isolation or in silos, and that is why there is huge weight internally for us on joint marketing, co-marketing programs.
Fair enough. So apart from partnerships, another piece very pivotal to your strategy, which is purpose. And Mastercard has come across as a purpose-driven brand with key focus on inclusion and empowerment. I'd like you to tell me that how do you really ensure that this purpose is not just communicated but also meaningfully experienced, number one, and number two, what are some of the initiatives that you've undertaken so that there is greater relevance and adoption even at the grassroots level?
What a wonderful question. Yes, our purpose very much is to stand for inclusive growth. One of the wonderful things about this industry is that, in India, fintech by nature is so inclusive. Millions of people, hundreds of millions of people with digital transaction and using their mobile. And I feel like those barriers have just been broken across users, merchants. We are very happy to be playing our role in the vision of Viksit Bharat as well, where every Indian would be digitally savvy, with making safe, secure, seamless payments. I think within that ecosystem then, where inclusion is really very much at the heart of it, As a brand, we really pride ourselves on some of the work we do, building products that are inclusive, making sure that we are supporting the right kind of solution creation, and then of course from a marketing and a communication standpoint, we ensure that the word gets out there. And to your question, it is also experienced. You know, our teams do a phenomenal job in creating these inclusive products. But zoning into into our marketing and communications world, I look at it in two ways. One is the kind of programs we built, and the other is how do we get people to then experience it. So we have a program called Mastercard's Drive, where 600,000 small enterprises, over half of which are led by women, and they then have access to payment tools, to digital tools. They are upskilled into actually accepting payments online. What this then does is it brings them into the fold of the digital economy.
Correct.
Similarly, we've also extended ourselves into, in Bangladesh, we run a program called Porsche, which also extends upskilling initiatives for micro and small entrepreneurs in that region. These programs help us take the good work that we are doing, but democratize that for everyone, including at the grassroots level. How do we get the story out is even more interesting than anytime we actually have to talk about the good work we're doing. We choose to make them the evangelists and the ambassadors, because no one can really tell that story better than they can. So very recently at the Global FinTech Festival in Bombay, which is the world's largest FinTech program, when we were showcasing our innovation, we actually requested one of the women beneficiaries to come and talk about her experience. And that actually, I must say, was one of the most successful demos that we did, because people are really interested in understanding real life, tangible
the human stories.
The human stories, and how does this complicated machinery actually impact me at an N=1 level.
Correct.
When you hear it from them, it is one of the most satisfying and humbling moments, So that is how we try and activate it. We make sure that inclusion is really at the heart of everything that we do, but also in telling the story, we don't undermine it as just a philanthropic activity, but also something that is having impact over generations and is unlocking economic power for women, underserved communities.
Okay, wonderful. This brings me to another crucial aspect. So you operate in a category that is in a trilemma of privacy, trust, and security, right? How do you approach communication in a way that reassurance comes up to be as important as innovations?
Trust is really the very foundation of anything that we do, and one of the key drivers of trust is feeling like your payment is, that your money is safe, secure, and the brand has got your back. I think we can do our storytelling in multiple ways. As an organization, we secure billions of transactions globally in a year. The number's staggering. That stat in itself will not mean much to the end user. Okay, you're doing billions of transactions and securing and enabling, and what does it mean for me? It is important for us to drill it down to you and what this means for you. And every time you then interact with the product, you must feel like Mastercard's got your back.
Correct.
What this then means is translating really complex, sophisticated technologies into simpler, more digestible, consumable pieces, so that the user feels that, okay, I think they've got it. They've got a lot of technology. They're using all of that good stuff to keep me safe. And examples of that would include how we start communicating these complex technologies in consumer campaigns. So towards the end of 2024, we had a program called Payments Ka Power Play with MS Dhoni. Here in this campaign, we actually used interesting cricket analogies to simplify complex industry jargons into consumable pieces. And so what that means is we used the width of the cricketer's bat as an analogy to explain that if you're using a contactless payment, if you're just tapping your card, it needs to be 4 centimeters away from the POS machine, otherwise the transaction won't go through, which is a way to communicate, here's how we've thought about your safety, just like the cricketer's bat is 4 centimeters. And there's also something called a chargeback. If you want to dispute something, you actually can raise a concern, and you have chargeback protections built in the card. And how we communicated that was with the DRS system in cricket. And these analogies, they help to tell the user very simply that there are protections built in for me. If something were to go wrong, you know, I have a mechanism to actually raise my concern, and they are going to listen to me. And of course, with Dhoni's voice, it is much more credible as well. We use these tactics like a really credible brand ambassador, or simple analogies, or very basic storytelling. The intention is to simplify. We anyway have this machinery at the back end, the sophisticated machinery that keeps the business running. But where we come in is we need to simplify that and just explain in a seamless manner so the message sticks in your mind and you'll remember the 4 centimeter thickness of the bat, and that's how close my card needs to be. So that's a fraud prevention strategy that Mastercard deploys.
Okay, so with the marketing strategy, I would now want you to tell us about your media strategy. So South Asia in particular has a very diverse media ecosystem. Number one, how do you decide where you have to show up? And number two, how do you stay contextually relevant without diluting the purpose of the brand or the ethos of the brand?
Oh God, what a great question. Where do we have to show up? Everywhere. Gosh, the user is everywhere now, right? I mean, it's when I started my career, it was very simple media planning. You know, you start with TV and you build beyond, and then you keep adding. I wish things were that simple now, but I think that is what keeps us on our toes. The user is everywhere, consuming thousands of pieces of communication on every single day. When we start mapping the user journey, we recognize how complex their influence network is, right? So look, we are a mobile-first economy. In general, South Asia is very mobile-first. So that makes things easier because we can at least start with digital, right? And that automatically gives us really good reach across. I think digital is very, very fundamental. We build from mobile. All of our media campaigns start there. I think in today's date, social media and influencers, they're an intrinsic part of every media strategy. For us, the way I like to activate those channels is, I can get a one-way story out with an ad that is served on paid media, YouTube, Meta. These channels allow us to do that, which is getting our story out. But really the engagement and the two-way communication happens when we leverage interesting content creators and influencers and get them to talk about the service. So for a lot of our campaigns, we actually use a combination of a lot of this. Digital is really, really important to get reach. Vernacular and regional presence is very critical. And the good news is with a lot of these tech tools today, we're able to transcreate, transliterate, and get our communication out to people in the language they speak. But at the same time, when we think about hyper-contextualizing, we work with content creators who take the piece of communication, give it their own little flair, make it seem really credible and authentic in those small circles. And that is why, so for instance, I'll go back to the example of the campaign we've been talking about, where while we have Ishan and Kriti as the faces, getting our message out there to millions of users, we are also in parallel working with internet sensations like Farah and Dilip and Milind Soman, and now soon you will see Zeenat Aman as well. And what they're doing is they're taking the same proposition of pay and style, giving it a little bit of their own flair, but talking to their follower community in their own manner. This adds an unparalleled level of credibility. Because you listen to them, you believe what they're saying.
Got it.
So on the one hand, the brand via their ad is telling me what what they're trying to communicate. But on the other hand, I'm also saying, okay, people I follow are also explaining how the product works. They're educating me on the safety features and the security features. This, to me, this combination works really well. I believe in full funnel campaigns. So at all times, we're always creating awareness, definitely, but we're also taking the user through the journey. And so there is a lot of mid-funnel work in terms of, activating either via, your mobile app, or whether in retail. And there is points where we need to definitely get the user to activate, take an action, which is what I call lower funnel. And so that is at least in your mobile apps, or literally maybe at a PVR, and you would see an offer, and that would get you to convert. So we definitely work out a full funnel approach. Typically, different channels and media choices have roles to play across all. I think language, vernacular presence, all of this is very, very critical now. The traditional one-way TV print planning is somehow out the door now.
I'm sure. Is there some sort of a percentage that you've allocated to all three mediums, say traditional, digital, and vernacular? Any ballpark percentage?
I think it's largely digital.
Okay.
We start with digital. Even for us, vernacular, I would say, is a part of digital. So I would, it's planning from that first. About 55% of India is Hindi speaking, and so we build from there. That's the starting point, and then we pick key regional areas of focus, and so we make sure that our ads are then also seen in the next few big languages, so Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam. We also definitely sometimes even have penetration into Bengali markets and Marathi markets, depending on the use case and depending on what we want to communicate. So it's very, very core to the planning. So it's digital, vernacular for sure. You also asked about traditional. I think, look, at the end of the day, when we want to do mass reach, then TV helps a lot. Out of home has its own role to reinforce existing messages, especially in areas of consumption, or if you want to hammer and tong a message down in a catchment area, like shopping malls or corporate parks. Out of home has a huge role to play there. Cinema has been a very interesting one for us. Recently, our campaign has been doing really well across all PVRs in the country. I'm yet to see how this will unfold for the rest of the year, but some very, very positive green shoots coming from cinema.
So, Lavani, finally, in view of the upcoming Women's Day, I'd like to know your marketing mantra that really guides your decision making amid a lot of responsibility and scale and complexity.
Before I talk about my marketing mantra, I must tell you, I really believe that marketing is the best job in the world.
Really? Why is that?
I really do. And I think it is, it allows us to take a consumer lens to every problem. Today, even at Mastercard, there are hundreds and thousands of people who are working on creating world-class products and cracking exceptional deals and thinking commercially forward across everything that we do. So there's engineering and product and customer solutions. But only the marketing and comms team gets to really be in touch with the end consumer, understand what they really want, what are their nuances and insights. Being the voice of the user in itself is such a huge responsibility that I don't take it lightly. But that is what makes it the most exciting, the best job in the world for me. I've had the great privilege of working across some really wonderful brands. I started out with Procter & Gamble, then I was at Uber, moving on to Google, and now at Mastercard. And across all of these organizations, what I've realized is that things just need to be simple. The simpler the insight, the better your work. One of my bosses in the past used to say, when you make an ad, Lavani, the user should see the ad and be like, oh, how did they know what was going on inside my head?
Right.
That is the power of an insight. That is it. You see the ad and you feel like, oh, that is for me. Or you see any experience today. An ad is just a tactic, right? You see an experience, or you see an activation, or you see something that the company has done, and you feel like, oh, this reward structure, it feels like it was designed for me. This loyalty program, it was completely made for me. Like, this is it, you got me. That's why this is a brand for me. I love that. I love being able to create something that feels like it was made for you. And so for me, my mantra is start from the user, keep it simple, and make it very exciting.
Okay.
And as long as we're doing these three things, and I keep telling my team, in doing all of this, we must have a lot of fun. Like, this needs to be a fun job, an exciting job. If we are doing right by the user, right by the business, and then also having a lot of fun at it, I think that is it for me. It's not very complex. It's not, anything breakthrough, but I like to keep things fun, light, very, very insightful. And in the context of Women's Day, therefore, I'm happy to let you know we have a lot of women on our team.
Oh, wonderful.
I think the good thing is that the balance and energy that I see between marketing and comms at Mastercard, that actually helps us do even better work. We need to strive towards a place where women are adequately represented in the workplace. I'm proud to report that my team is, and I hope that as this function evolves, we are able to solve for more women needs in the payment ecosystem overall.
Sure, well taken. Thank you, Lavani. Thank you for taking out time. I'm sure the viewers will have priceless insights from this conversation.
That's the other P we didn't talk about. Next time.
Yes, next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Soumya.